Hello and welcome to the Milan Derby preview with Marco and Karan. Honestly, it's a day which is very important because it's the derby of derbies. Honestly, if I am being honest, as in I am being, then I would say that today we come at a time where we as football fans are watching a match which is important. But for people in Milan, for the Italian fans, it is more than a match. This match means life. And I'm joined by Karan and Marco, as I said. Karan, what are your thoughts on today, man?
Oh man, I just had a pituitary kind of an intro segment, written for this, but I don't know how it goes. It's like like the way you send it, like Italian giants have woken up this season with the folklore of Italian glory, haunting us for roughly 2 decades now. Is this the season we will again see an Italian team triumphing the European glory? Like Fiorentina is in Conference League semis, Roma and Juventus in Europa League semis. And today we are gathered to talk about the Milanese team, both of them, Milan and Inter, five teams across three European
Right.
semi-finals. And who can be better, guest for us than Marco, who is from Milan itself. First things first. Like, can Marco shed some light from the cultural viewpoint? How does this derby, hold the cultural significance in Milan city predominantly?
Yeah, hi everybody. Yeah, well, it's a big deal. It's a big deal for us, and we we really live for this. It's the vibe in the city. There's a lot of nervousness. Everybody's talking all about this. Even people who don't really follow football, they must be involved with it.
Hmm.
So I remember when I was a kid going to school, like high school or something, and uh, I was so scared that Inter would lose because then uh, I would get mocked by my schoolmates, the Milan
Right.
supporter. So yeah, no, it's a big thing, and we both starve for it, and we are very scared about it. We really don't want to lose.
Right,
So,
right, right.
that's the significant, like how it started. Like, what is the Milan Derby? Actually called in Italy. Like, what do you guys call it?
We call it the
Like
derby,
the Derby in
il
Italian or
derby,
something?
il derby.
What? Okay.
Okay, interesting. What are your
Yeah.
earliest memories, Marco? What are your earliest memories as a Milan supporter?
Excuse me, I couldn't hear you well. Once more.
What are your earliest memories as an Inter Milan supporter? Like when you were supporting the club, like what made you fall in love with the club as a child?
Yeah, like I said, it's a family thing, and to me, I live in a very uh, Inter way, being an Inter supporter, Interista. We are called also La Pazza Inter, which is means the crazy Inter, because we were able sometimes to be losing 3-0 and then win 4-3,
Hmm.
or lose the easiest match for no reason. And so I honestly with you, I grew up losing. My team usually didn't make it, just sometimes, and that makes everything more delicious, in my opinion. Milan, they have a bigger history. They won more Champions Leagues. We have the same number of Italian Serie A, but I always had the feeling that Milan was a better team and we were the underdogs. And so whenever we would snap a derby or win a championship, that was a big deal. So I was lucky to be the generation that lived the 2010 treble. That was a big deal for us, and after that, I feel like for 20 years I don't need to win anything else. I'm still satisfied. But a derby is a derby, and you want to win it, whether it's quarterfinals or a group
Right.
stage, whatever.
That is the
But the
thing with
stakes are
football
high.
fans. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, that is the thing with football fans, Karan bhai. How much, as Marco said that, for 20 years, he knew that he would be happy enough with that win. And Karan bhai, what do you think, like going into the tie, who do you think are the favorites this time around? Do you think again Inter started as underdogs, or do you think that they are the ones who are the favorites in this tie?
No, I think Inter is doing good. And but personally, if you ask me, I think AC Milan has an upper edge. I don't know what Marco says about it. I'll have a reason for it as well. What do you think?
Fair.
Who has an upper edge?
Yeah, I think Inter Milan it has higher stakes in this moment, but just a little bit, because AC Milan can be really tough when they come together as a group, and you just cannot score with them. They have an amazing goalkeeper, and they really hold on. They put their heart at it more than Inter in this, in the 11s that are playing.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And also, just before we go deeper into the teams and everything, in general, Marco, we had a word about it, like five teams across, three semifinals. How do you think is an Italian, uprise against the odds of the football that's happening, since they were not in the World Cup, did not
Yeah.
qualify, and now they are in, like, having that dominance again in European level.
Yeah, well, talking about the national team, if you look at the teams like tonight, Inter and Milan, I think we have two or maybe three Italian players that can play in the national team. So it doesn't really represent the Italian movement, although it represents that we in our big teams, Italian players struggle to find place in the big teams. Juventus is an exception for this. But other than that, it's great. It's really great to have five teams, and I think they're all doing a very good job with
Right.
different reasons. Fiorentina with a great coach, Juventus with a great history, and Inter Milan, in my opinion, with a lucky draw. But I know you need to be there, and we made it.
They say fortune favors the brave. Now Vishal Bhai here says that what a perfect sending off for the San Siro, having a Milan derby. So Karan Bhai, like for a lot of years, AC Milan and Inter Milan, they haven't been at the pinnacle of Europe, which they had been in the yesteryears. So like with such a tie happening and knowing that one of these teams is going to win the final this year, and one of these teams maybe gonna run out as the winners. So, how important of this match is for from a neutral fan's perspective also, and how do you see this matching up?
I mean, for neutrals, this is a feast. I mean, you can enjoy the heritage of Italian football in front of you. We are actually so glad. I mean, we are lucky to witness this. An Italian semi-final, the old Milan semi-final, because
Right.
today's youth, they do not know the significance of the Milan Derby, what it is. Like,
Right.
maybe if someone two generations after us, I mean, if they come and they look at the history, they will look into this semi-final and see that what went wrong, and probably when the again the uprise of either of these two clubs started. I mean, Inzaghi, I mean, manager, right? Like, for what the kind of job he is doing, while he left Lazio, but Lazio is still doing better. I mean, they are good, Lazio, this season again. But the involvement of Italian coaches, in the entire system of game, is redefining itself again. I think for neutrals, it's a feast. That's why it's a feast. And Marco, like, what do you think about AC Milan? And they won a Scudetto last year, right? If I'm not wrong.
Yeah, yeah, they did. They did.
And they are into the semis, so they are doing good. They're doing really good.
Yes, and you can also see how both Milan and Inter are doing this season in the Serie A. We are in the top four or top five, but we're struggling. And the energies that the Champions League takes out of players is just crazy, because you play in middle week, and you cannot fail. You need to put all of your energies at it, and it's just tough. Talking about coaches, yeah, five teams with four coaches, because Mourinho is half Italian but not full Italian. But then we have Ancelotti in Real Madrid, so it's the school is there. I think that we have. I really believe, not because I'm Italian, but Italian coaches do put something else to the team. Yeah, I think in my opinion, it's gonna be a very, let's say, boring first leg, very tactical and everything. But if you get a chance, I don't know how is the broadcasting for you guys, but if you can start watching the match a little bit before the match starts, when the players enters the field, there will be just a violent wave of screams, and the San Siro is really special for that. And I've
That's
been there, and it's just amazing. Right now I have goosebumps thinking about it.
interesting you talk about the San Siro. Like I would want to ask you, like, Doipan here says that, it's great to have people in the podcast from all over the world. So, like, being at the San Siro, how did it feel like? And people say it's a Sadir, it's one of the best playgrounds, if not the best in the world. For you, how did it feel being in that stadium? And you mentioned in the pre-show being at the end of the AC Milan supporters. So, like, how was it for you as a feeling? And what are your thoughts about it?
I mean, I haven't been in many of the world famous stadiums. I went to Bombonera in Buenos Aires.
Oh,
That
nice.
was my highest achievement from this point of view. Um, but yeah, I mean, there is something connected with your heart. Like I once even played a little football match in San Siro. It was just a little thing without audience.
Oh,
Uh, like I scored in one of the goals. It was just amazing. And these
oh,
things, it's just, I don't know how to say. It's like every house is a house. They don't have anything special. But your parents' house, the one where you grew up, is that one. It is all special for you. So now they're talking about moving San Siro, or every team building their own stadium, whatever. I think it's inevitable because the original San Siro is from the 20s, so it's really an old building, and it costs too much to renovate it. But it is history, and whenever we walk around it, we always look at this big monument of the city.
Yeah, I think a
absolutely.
few days back, Anukarsh sir, I was just talking to Marco, sent him a video about how San Siro was actually moving their walls while people were, like jumping and shouting. I mean, it's on the verge of, I mean, the high decibel sounds is something that, moves San Siro. That's what Marco said, right, Marco?
Yeah.
What was it about? Can you just throw some light on how San Siro
Yeah.
moves the
So
sound?
originally, the stadium was built on the outskirts of the city, but then the city grew, and now there are buildings right next to it. And the neighbors, I think in the late 90s or early 2000s, they were complaining about the noise because San Siro is used both as a football stadium and as a concert stadium.
Right, right.
So they asked to regulate the decibel level, and the municipality which owns the stadium is not owned by the teams; is owned by the municipality of Milan. They agreed to it, so they put a limit to the speakers, and yet on some songs the limit was crossed, and so they complained again, and they had to investigate it and go deep and deep, and they couldn't find an answer until they realized that this happened only when the performers were playing their most famous songs, and then all the audience was just jumping all together, and that created the resonance frequency, and that skyrocketed the decibels of the concert. So yeah, it's just like it's a living organism when you think about it. It moves with you, but it's still holding.
It's still
Right,
holding. Yeah,
right.
hopefully it can hold a good semifinals, two
Yeah.
semifinals. I mean, of
Yes.
course. So how do you go about the team, Marco? How do you think Inzaghi should line up today?
Yeah, well, I think everything has been decided. 3-5-2 as usual, and Çalhanoğlu playing instead of Brozovic. It's a big thing. I
Hmm.
kind of agree with it. He has a soft tooth against Milan
Yeah.
and against Ibrahimovic. So I think he has an extra motivation for that. Um, like I said, I think it's going to be a very tactical match. Maybe 0-0, 1-1, 1-0 for one of and everything will be decided on the next leg, which is, we will have 60,000 Inter supporters in the second leg, so it's a good thing for us.
Talking about
And
midfielders, like Marco
yeah.
really pointed out about Çalhanoğlu. Like Karan bhai, I would come to you. How important do you think Barella is going to be for Inter this time around?
He is going to be important from 2 points of view. One, because he's probably our most amazing player. He can really decide a match, and he can. But in the in the past 2 years, especially in Champions League, he has showed a lack of maturity. And I think that Milan will play on this, trying to provoke him and trying to get him a yellow card and possibly a red card, so that he will not play mind-free. So he needs to be still and calm. If he can achieve this, then he becomes a world-class player. But last year with Liverpool, he got the red card in the first leg, and then he couldn't play the second leg. And AC Milan knows it. Also in the Serie A, they always provoke him. They always go heavy on him, and sometimes he falls for it. So he needs to be calm and be the player that he is.
And what about the back three? Back three. I mean, the Darmian. Does the Darmian plays the back three, or Dibridge or Skriniar? I mean, I still don't know the back three.
I think Skriniar is already in Paris. I don't believe that No, I mean, he will be there, but with his mind is not there. And Darmian is having the best season. I think Darmian, Acerbi, Bastoni will be the three backs, and I think it's a solid. We've been playing with them for the past weeks, and they have good measurements.
Yeah, last game I think Inter won against Lazio.
Yes,
last week, right? Yeah, and it's interesting that Milan played Roma and they defeated Roma last week. So they are both coming from a competitive game. It was not like something that Inter did against I don't know. They won 6-0 against some team at the lower ranks. Which team?
Yes, it was Verona. So first it was Inter beat Verona 6. No, it was Inter Lazio, and we won 2-1. Then Inter Verona 6-0, and then Inter Roma. It was the last one. While Milan played Roma and Lazio crossed, and we had very intense week, both of us. We had a better scoring. Inter had better scoring than Milan. Milan drawing one. I don't remember again. I think Cremonese. And so Inter is in a better shape theoretically. But again, when you enter the stadium and there are 60,000 people screaming for you and 20,000 for the opposite team, and it's Champions League semi-final, I think all this goes into under the bed, and you just want to give the maximum you got.
Totally. I mean, honestly, like for someone talking about the fans, for someone who has really endeared himself to the fans in the last few matches is Romelu Lukaku. In the past 4 matches, he has got 3 goals and 3 assists. And at the business part of the season, he is starting to come into form. So, do you think that, as you said, the match will be very, very tactical? So, do you think he could be that one key factor that is the difference between Inter winning it or Inter drawing it, or maybe not coming out as the winners in the tie?
I think it will be a key factor in the second leg. I think in the second leg we will see more goals, and especially. They will need some of the team will need to score something, and so I think Dzeko is going to play tonight. Then Lukaku will come in, but I think it's a good choice. Dzeko is very good at. He's so good with his feet. It's like having a playmaker up there in front, and we need a player like this in a moment, like in a game like this. Lukaku is amazing when he can run, but there will not be much running for the front players today.
So they play two forwards today, Martinez and Dzeko, you think?
Yes.
Okay, that's interesting system. Yeah, 3-5-2 as you said. And what do you think about AC Milan's structure overall? Like how they kind of approach it? I mean, you think about it.
Well, I think they have a bigger problem without having, Leao is missing. So also Ibra is missing, which, he almost never played this season, but he's an important presence. He is still a very important presence in the dressing room. He will load them up. But I think, especially considering that they don't have Leao, it will be a very defensive AC Milan. They will let Inter play, and they will try to counter here and then. They're extremely solid as a defense. Kjaer is back to his great shape, and they rarely make mistakes. So I think it's going to be tough for Inter.
Okay, so
I
Karan
saw. I
bhai,
also yeah. Sorry, Chris. Come again.
Karan
Anna?
bhai, yeah, I'll come to you for this question. So, like from an Indian fan's perspective, or someone who knows how AC Milan was important especially in the 2000 or
Yeah.
2010 era, when you could see every other kid wearing the Kaka t-shirt. Sometimes it was original, sometimes it was a duplicate. I myself have
Ronaldinho.
that, yeah, Ronaldinho for that matter. I myself have this poster of AC Milan when they lost in 2005. And though they came back 2 years later when Inzaghi scored those two goals, it still haunts my childhood, still has scarred me for life. So, like, honestly, like, for someone from a neutral fans perspective, how do you see AC Milan doing in this tie? Because they haven't been in the, challenging for the title this season, but they have been in and around and the top four. Also, they are a team which have some really good midfielders. Ismail Benacer is definitely one of them. So, how do you see them competing in this tie? And do you think they start as the favorites?
I think for me, like if they are playing like as you said, Marco said that today is Milan's home, so they'll have a big supporter behind them. But now, if I look a little back, and you remember we did something around Napoli earlier, right? And the
Yeah,
only team that was able to hold Napoli, even in UCL and also in the league, was AC Milan. They
right.
eliminated Napoli in quarters. They kind of halted their winning run last month when they beaten. I think they did beat Napoli and in the league as well. So
Right.
they kind of delayed their Scudetto basically. But if you think it, AC Milan has the right. What I can think of as a Juventus defense, which was there 10 years back or like 7, 6 years back with Bonucci and Cellini and the kind of orchestration that demands. Ajer is kind of doing something similar for Milan right now. Like I feel that they are a very strong backline and they communicate very well, in terms of when to press and when to bring down their efforts. And if they're playing high line in case which they don't, but if they're on the counter, if they're playing high line, the defense, they know how to kind of hold the mark for the last man who is going to make run. Like in this case, what I'm looking forward to is how Martinez, Jair can hold Martinez tonight. It will be a very
Fair enough.
interesting matchup, and it will be actually a class, a master class, I could say, for the defense versus offense game today. Especially for this leg.
Fair enough. How important do you think, like Rafael Leao is rumored to not be playing in this match because of the injury issues? So, like, what do you think is? Do you think if he doesn't play, it's going to be a very big factor, or do you think AC Milan will be able to cope with it?
I think AC Milan will hold it. I mean, from the left flank. I mean, Marco will have a better say about it. How do you think about it, man?
I don't think that they will hold it. They are their strength is in the group organization. Then yeah,
Right.
they have some players who can change the game. I think Inter they wish they had our forwards because we are really strong out there. But I also think we are the last football team in Italian Serie A for dribblings, and we just don't dribble. We don't. We try to play all together. We have a very slow sort of building the action, while
Yeah.
Milan has more creativity. And honestly, this is quite weird for me to say this, but I think Maldini as a DS is doing a great job for AC Milan, and they're taking players who, most of them, they are really hard workers, and they try to. They're good persons before being good players, and so the group comes out as an extra factor. While Inter is more following the names, and I'm happy with that. But if I have to find something that I envy about Milan structure is their group and the personalities
Right.
that they have inside their group.
Like Ante Rabish can turn up today, right? Like if Leao is not there, he can play
Yeah,
on the wings. and he can bring in some creativity, and he can get in some crosses from the left flank for Giroud to just head in. I can just imagine a goal coming from a Giroud's header on 70th minute sometime. I think it's in my back of my head where you get someone just looping in for Giroud, and Giroud just like flicking it
Well,
over his head.
you know what? To people who are listening to us, I will tell you a little anecdote. When it was the European Cup final, Italy-England, we won 2-1, and after some 12 minutes or something like that, England scored 1-0. And Karan he wrote me, congratulations for winning the Euro Cup. And I was like, what? This doesn't look right. And he knows this. So I think I'm going to go to the bathroom around the 70th minute today.
I think I remember that match. I think it was Euro finals, I guess, or something. Last couple of years back, yes.
Right.
So
Says,
that's what That's what the story. Stories like these can make these kind of matches more memorable, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
right. The Vanch here says that the Milan Derby never disappoints, and I mean, for me, this is going to be another match which doesn't disappoint with the players around, and the Italian glory is at stake. The players have it all at stake, and more than Europe, I think it's also about that prestige which they have in Milan. And so, Marco, like, what are your final predictions with the match, and especially as an Inter supporter?
Yeah, I think we will be happy with a 0-0 or a 1-1, but it will be really decided by single events. Sometimes maybe it will be out for, the ball will be out of the goal for a few centimeters, and sometimes it will be in for a few centimeters, or an own goal, or something like that. I think it will be a dirty derby. Lots of tactical and lots of lot of tension, especially for us. There is something that it's difficult to explain, but maybe the match looks boring, but to us it looks like come on, guy. A special guy, I think, tonight is Di Marco, because he was born and raised in Milan, and he's an Inter fan, and I think it's something very special for him. So I would say a tied match.
I usually
also feel.
you feel it.
I also feel this.
No. Sorry, I mean there was some lag. Sorry.
Yeah, I was saying I feel the same, and I will come to you, Karan bhai, with the question, because even I feel that with how the teams are stacked up, this seems to be a tie which has nil-nil written all over it. Having said that, Karan bhai, do you contradict with it, or do you stick with me?
No, I think Milan. No. I think Milan's gonna win tonight for 1-0 or something. And for me, the crucial player would be Brahim Diaz. Frankly, I mean he's been good, and he has that flair which can, if the legs are tired. This guy can turn up. He has the Madrid DNA in him, so you can't beat that. And we talk about two players for Inter, Lukaku, of course, and Darmian. Both of them, I think, had a Manchester DNA. Not the DNA, I would say, but they are, somewhere down the line belong to Manchester United. So it's gonna be good from perspective of a United fan as well. Having players who have moved to Milan, I mean Inter, since a couple of few years back. This kind of an exchange that keeps happening. I remember Alexis Sanchez moving there after failed glory to United, but today Brahim Diaz is going to be the key for AC Milan, and probably they'll just have an edge over Inter's tired legs.
Yeah, I also think that all this season Inter has suffered with against players like Brahim Diaz, who play between the lines, and we have Inzaghi is very strong with his orders, but the team is little. We don't have a lot of flexibility. So when somebody like Diaz can move around and you just find him everywhere on the field, that becomes more difficult for us to defend against him. Don't forget Lautaro though, because he has poison in his blood, and sometimes I honestly think that he's amazing how out of nowhere he can create incredible situations. So when
The fighting spirit of Lautaro is incredible. The fighting spirit is incredible, man.
yeah, it's really tough, and it's one of those players that I'm really happy to have on my side because I think it's really tough to play against him. And his shape is coming back. He had a low period after the World Cup, but now you can see the determination in his eyes. And I don't know. I think I'm kind of I'm worried for what Karan said because he's good at this, but
Yeah, I mean,
I
we
hope.
played the FIFA a lot of times. Yeah, Marco. I
Yes,
mean, you remember, on the video
yes,
games. Yeah. So,
yes.
what do you think about it?
Right.
Maybe we make another broadcast tomorrow and we'll see what comment about this.
Yeah.
I'm from
So
Italy, guys. I need to be a little bit scaramantic. So let's see. Let's see how it goes.
right. So in less than 2 hours, we have one of the biggest matches in Europe. We have the Milan Derby coming up. Anything could happen. We feel at the Indie Football Podcast that it will be a tie which will tingle along the lines, but this could be a tie which could really put in a surprise for us. What happens? What will happen? Please put your predictions in the comments. Please like, share, and subscribe to the Indie Football Podcast. I'm sure fans in Milan, fans, Italian fans, and also fans in India will be profusely watching it because that's what football means to the people. It doesn't divide nations. On every day when you watch a football match, that day you're a football fan. It doesn't matter whether you're an Italian fan, an Indian fan, or wherever in what part of the world. And wherever you're watching it from, I just hope this match provides a very good experience for you. So thank you for tuning into the Indie Football Podcast. Thank you, Karan, for joining us as ever. Thanks, Marco. It was great having you here on board, and we would love to have you again on board here, man. And thanks for tuning in. We hope to come back with another preview and another review of another important match. And this is a time which I hope we can always remember when we wake up tomorrow.